Welcome back, Happy Fabricators. In this video, we're gonna build the world's smallest timber sled. So I've had so much fun with this three-wheeler conversion. We've drifted it all over the place. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. But winter's coming and it's time for a timber sled conversion. Okay, so as we get into tearing this build down, I have a confession to make. I'm sure you've never done this, but I might have impulse bought these tracks while doom scrolling the Prime. And with no actual plan on what I was going to do with them, they might have hypothetically got buried in the corner of the shop for 6 or more months until I recently decided I should justify that purchase. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. So what we have here is just a universal set of tracks for a snowblower. You can get these things on Temu, Amazon, eBay, you name it, they're all the same. But I think if we play a little operation, this will be the perfect candidate for a timber sled conversion. Okay, so I've been staring at this for a hot second and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. Like, this thing is just a little bit small, I feel like it, but it's what I got to work with. I thought about like tipping it up like this, but that's kind of a weird shape. So I think my next approach, I think I'm gonna dissect this thing, or maybe the large one goes in the front and there's 2 trailing on the back. I don't know, we'll see. Let's take it apart and see what we can figure out. Okay, so with this thing disassembled and playing around with it a little bit, I think that this is a similar orientation that I'm gonna go with. There's barely enough room for the 2 rollers in the rear. So now we gotta figure out a way to capture these guys, figure out a way to stick our drive back on this thing, which actually we need to be on this side because we need a chain and sprocket to go on it. So I've got it all tacked up this far. I'm liking the way it's turning out. I'm not gonna worry about my adjustments here yet. We're just gonna focus on building the frame out. And now I gotta connect the shock to the swing arm itself. I'm loving the kind of Ducati vibes with this, so we're gonna keep it up. I think to triangulate this, I'm gonna come up with something like this with some lighter gauge tubing. And then we gotta figure out where within all that we can let our motor mount there. But running another tube up higher like this, it's gonna allow us to kind of make a triangle truss and just make this thing even more rigid. Let's keep checking. Okay, so we're making progress. I'm liking the look of it. We've got some nice curvy lines in there. We got the motor mounted. It's looking really good. So next up, I need to get the chain tensioner built, and I'm going to integrate the chain tensioner into this motor mount, I believe. So I think it's going to be a plasma cut part that like comes up off of this and has some sort of pivot that comes in here and tensions that. And then I got to build and machine a hub for my sprocket to go onto. So I've got a couple things rolling right now. I'm starting to work on the hub that is going to come out from here and connect my sprocket to it. And since I've got the technology to do it, sometimes I like to use a 3D printer just to make sure I've got my patterns right. So I drew up this bolt pattern, and this is going to be the flange that bolts to this hub. But 3D printing is great. As I was working on this, I was also drawing up this part that's going to involve the tensioner and stuff like that. Now, I can already see some of the comments. People are going to be like, yeah, well, I don't have CAD software, or I don't have a CNC plasma. You don't need that to do this stuff. I used to do this stuff without it. It just takes longer. I could make this fancy bracket that I'm about to drop into here with just some paper, a pen, portaband, and a drill press. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Okay, this guy came off the printer. We're gonna do a check, and I am way off. I did a slot here so I'd have a little more grace, but yeah, how did I get that way off? So we definitely need to make some adjustments. I'm glad that I mocked that up first. Okay, so I got a pile of parts here to clean up. There's a couple things that I got designed up. We got a bracket to go up in this area that should fit right nicely in there. That'll incorporate the chain tensioner into it. And I think I've got the tensioner for the track all figured out, which is accumulation of these pile of parts. It took me a while to figure out what I was gonna do. Also, kind of shout out to, there's a channel called Chris Uno. I didn't know this. I should have known this looking at this, but with these tracks, these two ones need to be weight bearing because they have the bearings in them. The drive pulley doesn't want to be fully contact on the ground. It's supposed to be just a drive pulley. And I had them all laying flat. So somebody seen that I was building this thing and was like, hey, this dude's kind of done something similar. So I looked at his channel and I didn't know that. So that was super helpful. Shout out to that dude. And I was able to lower these two down. I raised this drive pulley up so it's about an inch off the ground when these two are making compression on the ground. So get these parts all cleaned up and see if our assembly works for this tensioner. Okay, so I got this assembly all welded together, and I decided to make it out of plate. I like building things out of tube in general just because you can get more strength over the weight, but I just couldn't figure out a way to do it because there's going to be a lot of side loads since this only has a single side over here, but it still has to be adjustable. So basically, my idler pulleys are going to, the shafts on those are going to ride through these holes here, and this will go in here, and then this will slide like this to tension it. So I'm going to tack in these nuts that are going to slide in here so that I don't have to have a wrench on the bottom side. I can just suck the nuts down from the top side, just make it easier to get to and adjust. And then on the end, we're going to have a tensioner stud that will slide in here. Okay, so we got this thing all taken apart and tacked together, and this thing looks pretty gnarly. I like it. See the the shape of it here. I added a couple things since last time I chin wagged at you. I added a crossbar right in here because just from experience building these swing arms on the other pit bikes, if you don't have something in here, these two pieces want to pinch together really bad once you start welding together. And then I also decided to put just a little curvy gusset right down in here. Because the stress of that shock is coming in like this, I kind of wanted something that's kind of semi in line there, but I think we're boxed in enough for what this thing's going to be. It's not a XR 450 that we're launching or anything like that. It's a 100-pound pit bike. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and squirrels, I think we've got a lot of work done. It took me a little bit. There were some things I went over, like the flange on the drive pulley was a Chinese part, and it was not straight. It had a bunch of run out. I'm like, I bolted my fancy hub onto here, and I had all this run out, and I'm like, I know this hub was true, and I sourced it back to the flange for the drive pulley, so I had to pull that off, throw that in the lathe, true that up, and in theory, we are ready to rip. I have a slight concern because I did a not best practice and I put the chain on the opposite side of the bearing. It'll probably be strong enough, but like I said, it's definitely not best practice. So I have a couple ideas, but right now, I'm too excited to do that first. So hopefully we don't bend it testing it. My cameraman. This thing's a blast though. Oh! Little brother's gonna give it a go. Hey Tulu, why don't you go down the street where there's fresh snow? That's fun. Oh my word, this thing is fun. It's super slick still. Needs a bigger track, but still fun. It spins. You're right, the front end kind of skates around on it. We'll definitely have to build a ski for it. Cool, you wanna give it a try?
Sure.
Ability.
Holy! Holy! Wow.
Once you get down to rock, you get a little bit of traction, but... Oh man, this is fun. It definitely tracks better in the fresh stuff instead of being in a rut.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to build a brake for it for sure. We don't have a, I think I can build a brake off of the ski back here, but we'll see. Front brake doesn't do much good.
Yeah. Well, stopping the track, that help any or?
Yeah, if we build a brake for this wheel,
Okay.
because then you have all the traction of the track.
Okay.
Should, but cool. I kind of want to go back down to that hill climb.
Let's go.
Sure. We're gonna give this hill climb a go and see if it's got enough kahunas to make it up it.
I'm sure it does. Can you stay on it? I don't know.
I think it might be traction might be the question.
Oh, okay.
Ah! Oops. To the chain.
Come around, come around.
Probably not. Too steep.
Take two.
Probably doesn't show on camera how steep that is.
No, that's pretty steep.
I need a longer track. My peg folded up on me.
The peg. Snow and butt.
Okay, now I'm just getting wet. We definitely need to fix our chain tensioner. It's getting kind of crunchy. We need to build a ski for the front of this thing and a brake for the rear track, but it's a blast. If you want to see more fabrication content, click some of the links. They're going to pop up here. If you want to be notified of upcoming videos, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and go build something, guys. Oh man, I just realized it slipped off the chain guard, and we've just been riding on the piece of flat bar, not on the sprocket on the chain guard. That's why it was clicking.